On Friday, the 24th of May 2024, Armstrong Powerhouse released an enhancement pack for the Midland Mainline London to Bedford route. It is currently priced at £19.99 and is available to download from the Armstrong Powerhouse website. Supposedly set in the present era at the time of its release, the base route was produced by Dovetail Games and released for Train Simulator in February 2015. The route is set between London St Pancras International and Bedford and is served by frequent intercity and regional East Midlands Railway services. The low-level underground platforms of St Pancras International are also included, allowing you to operate the Thameslink services too. At first glance, I thought the route looks pretty good, and truth be told, I was happy to drive it once AP had released better rolling stock. It then started to look a lot better following the additions of the track, signal and weather packs too. However, when you start to take a closer look at the route, you'll find pieces that were left unfinished, like these floating signals for example. Some of the station platforms were also not long enough to accommodate a 12-car train set, and the speed limits were found to be inaccurate for the time period that the route was supposed to represent. In 2013, parts of the fast lines were upgraded to allow for 125 mph running. However, the base route will only let you achieve a maximum speed of 110 mph. Another problem with the route is that Bedford isn't really a natural endpoint for the East Midlands services, and I feel that it would have benefited more with Leicester as its terminus. Having said that, scenarios can still be varied. As previously alluded to, you can work some of the intercity and regional services in addition to the more intensive Thameslink services and a number of freight trains. The base route comes bundled with the Class 319 dual voltage electric multiple unit in First Capital Connect livery, as well as an EWS Class 66 diesel locomotive with rakes of PGA stone wagons, PCA bulk powder wagons, and FSA/FTA container wagons. Briefly touching the default stock, the model of the included Class 319 was modelled by Geordie Blumberg. The model looked nice for its time, however the sounds and scripting produced by Dovetail Games were not so nice. The sounds were recycled from the Class 455 DLC, which are totally inaccurate, and the physics felt the same regardless of the type of traction power. I would strongly recommend ditching this and purchasing Geordie's more detailed second attempt at the Class 319 from the Armstrong Powerhouse website, which is far more realistic and engaging to drive. The included Class 66 is also nothing spectacular. The model does look nice and I feel that it drives okay too. The sounds also do sound like that they were recorded from a 66, however they lack the definition and the feel of movement that the Armstrong Powerhouse Enhancement Pack delivers. We're now going to take a look at what the MML Enhancement Pack brings. The route was effectively ripped up and totally refurbished. The bulk of the work was done by Toby Emile and Pablo Martinez. Armstrong Powerhouse worked on the route's weather, lighting, signalling, audio and scenarios, whilst 4-aspect simulations worked on the route's quick drive functionality and provided some additional assets. The Enhancement Pack aims to represent the route between 2011 and 2019. As such, Bread Cross West has not been implemented. The stations have been modernised and the areas around them have had further details added or changed. Platforms that could previously only hold 8-car trains have been extended to accommodate full-length trains. Plenty of clutter has also been added, including signage, posters, fencing, platform markings, seating and driver-only operation monitors. Owing to the complexities of their models, the high and low level platforms of St Pancras International have had cosmetic touch-ups where possible. In terms of infrastructure, the overhead wires have been replaced with assets from the Just Trains Common Library. There's added track clutter, including signage, cable trunking, railway waste, junction boxes, boundary fencing and mileposts, some of which are tilted as per reality. The track itself has also had its level of roughness raised, especially at junctions where trains are known to sway about a bit at high speed. This leads us nicely to the speed limits themselves, which have been altered and now include the addition of the HST speed boards, where Class 43 HSTs and Class 222 Meridians can travel faster than previously northwards of Elstree Tunnel. Neutral sections in the overhead and cab secure radio boards have been added, which will work out of the box with any Armstrong Powerhouse rolling stock but have the appropriate scripting. The signals have been replaced and overhauled with assets from the Armstrong Powerhouse Signal Enhancement Pack. The signals now have up-to-date ID plates, and ground signals have been added to areas where they were previously missing. LED signals have also been added where applicable within the route's period. Lineside foliage has also seen a vast improvement, with the use of assets from the Vegetation EP. The Signal and Vegetation EPs have been bundled specifically for use with this route only, so the respective packs are not mandatory requirements. The route's night lighting has seen modification to display a more realistic colour and have more coverage and intensity. A colour temperature of around 4000 K has been used as per reality for station lighting. On that subject, the tunnels are noticeably darker, and the greenish lighting in the St Pancras low-level platforms, which is noticeable on the overhead wires, has been removed. It's not just the scenery that's been overhauled, the route's ambient audio has too. Richard removed all existing sounds and replaced it with newly recorded samples from 59 separate locations, from the roar of the M1 motorway at Hendon to the loud aircraft drone at Luton and the chirping of the wildlife at Radlett. You'll also be able to hear the rumbling of the track at St Pancras as trains approach the underground platforms. In order to get the best from the ambient audio, head to the game settings and turn the master volume slider to max, the ambient audio slider to roughly halfway, and then tick the EFX box. There is a limit to how many sounds Train Simulator can play at any one time, and should the limit be reached, ambient audio will mute itself first before all other sounds. Extra track and scenery have been added from Brent Curve Junction and Cricklewood Curve Junction to Dudding Hill Junction, and also between Carlton Road Junction and Junction Road Junction, in order to provide for a natural start and end point to freight scenarios. These chords serve the freight-only line to Acton and the Gospel Oak to Barking line respectively. The track has been relayed with accurate gradients. For retro scenario creators, King's Cross Thameslink has been added too. Despite the era of the route being set between 2011 and 2019, King's Cross Thameslink was made to provide a proper start and end point in London for scenarios based before the station's closure in December 2007. St Pancras International can also be hidden by simply extracting the scenery file and copying it into the scenario folder. Talking of scenarios, 4 have been included with this package, and all of which are based around the real-life operations of the Thameslink Class 700 EMUs. It's also worth noting that AP have also updated the following packs to provide compatibility with this add-on. These include the Class 43 HST VP185 pack, the Class 317 Volume 1, Class 319 Volumes 1 and 2, the 387 Electrostar EP, and the TDA-D, JPA and JGJ-K/PHA wagon packs. The Sky and Weather Enhancement pack has also been updated, and whilst it is not a mandatory requirement, it is a recommendable purchase, so that the scenarios will be able to operate with the creator's intended weather pattern. It comes bundled with a scenario for this route too, which shows off some spectacular fork lightning strikes. These are apparently very difficult to implement into a scenario, as a result are not talked about in the manual. If you want to purchase this pack, apart from the obvious main requirement of the base route, from Steam you will also require the Chatham Mainline from London Victoria to Dover and Ramsgate, and the West Coast Mainline South from London Euston to Birmingham New Street. As mentioned earlier, the route also borrows assets from the Just Trains Common Library, so from Just Trains you will need at least one of the following: Sheffield to Derby, South Western Expressways Reading, or Southampton to Salisbury. Links will be provided in the description below. It's worth noting that the enhanced route is also going to be quite demanding on your PC's resources. As a bare minimum, your machine is recommended to have at least 6GB of RAM, however 8GB of RAM would be better. Your processor is also recommended to have a max turbo clock rate of 5GHz. As for a recommended graphics card, it isn't usually important, as Train Simulator Classic relies more on the single core speed of your processor. The enhancement pack will still function fine on lesser systems, but FPS will be limited in busier and more detailed areas of the route. The PC I ran this route on has 32GB of DDR5 RAM, an Intel i5 13600K processor running at stock speeds, an NVIDIA Zotac RTX 4070 Ti, and TS was installed onto a Samsung M.2 NVMe SSD. TrainSim was also running at 1080p on full graphics settings and a locked frame rate of 60 frames a second. In terms of performance, I found that Bedford, Luton, St Albans and Cricklewood were the most demanding areas, dropping down to the 30s. The only really big drop I noticed was down to 15 FPS at Carlton Road Junction when heading towards St Pancras. Apart from that though, the route does seem to be content running anywhere between 40 and 60. Do note however that FPS will be dependent on the nature of the rolling stock, the scenario, as well as additional scripts that may be in operation, such as AP weather. Overall, I think that this enhancement pack is certainly worth a purchase. The revamped scenery has brought the route up to modern standards, and I particularly like the little extras, such as the tunnel nameboards and the added snow textures on the platforms when running the route in winter. Like the Wherry lines, I think that the route looks really nice regardless of the time of day, weather and season. The route is also particularly well illuminated at night. Whilst I'm not fussed about the ambient audio in routes, I find that it has been professionally executed in this product, and that it certainly helps to bring the route to life. I'm sure that the inclusion of the small extensions, additional markers and portals will be of great benefit to scenario creators and help to extend the longevity of this 55-mile route. I hope that you have found this review to be helpful and informative. Please feel free to subscribe if you wish to follow me and turn on notifications. If you enjoyed the video, pressing the like button would be greatly appreciated. If you would like to support the channel further, you may tip me on Ko-fi or by pressing YouTube's Super Thanks button. Thank you very much for watching and take care.